Look beneath the soil of our modern world. Massive stone foundations, buried arches, and grand architecture lie swallowed by the earth, completely ignored by mainstream history. What if your past was rewritten to hide a fallen global superpower? They call it Tartaria, a legendary empire supposedly wiped from our collective memory, leaving behind impossible monolithic buildings, high-precision engineering, and advanced wireless energy grids. Could a race of literal giants have walked these forgotten grand streets? Today we peel back layers of deception, tracking the bizarre clues across old maps, strange architecture, and mysterious mud-covered windows. Welcome to the ultimate forensic investigation into the lost architecture of the world's most controversial hidden empire. To understand the mystery, we must first look at the claims. Alternative history circles assert that during the 19th century, a highly advanced civilization spanned the entire globe, seamlessly uniting continents under one majestic architectural blueprint. The primary evidence begins with old European maps. If you search archives from the 16th to 18th centuries, you will find a massive region labeled Grand Tartaria, stretching across the vast, frozen expanse of northern Asia. Believers point to the majestic domes and ornate spires atop these old-world structures. They argue these weren't merely decorative art, but sophisticated atmospheric energy collectors designed to pull free electricity straight out of the ether. Imagine a world with completely free power, missing power lines, and zero pollution. According to the theory, this advanced network distributed wireless energy globally until a mysterious engineered cataclysm wiped the entire system out of existence. But who actually built these enormous structures? The narrative takes an even stranger turn here, claiming the massive doors, towering ceilings, and oversized steps found in old public buildings proves an era of human giants. Did colossal humans once live alongside us, constructing these high-precision engineering marvels? Proponents argue that mainstream science actively destroyed their remains, hiding large skeletons in secret vaults to protect a fragile, linear historical timeline. Everywhere you look in old cities, from Paris to San Francisco, you see identical, imposing classical architecture. How could scattered nations build identical, complex stone monuments simultaneously without rapid modern transport or instant global communication networks? Stop right there. Take a close look at these images. Do they truly reveal an erased empire? Or are we falling for a beautifully constructed modern optical illusion? Let's examine the cold, hard forensic facts. This brings us directly to the most famous pillar of Tartarian evidence, the global mud flood. Walk through any old city and look closely at older brick buildings. You will find full windows half buried below street level. Why would 19th century architects intentionally build functional, beautiful windows directly into the damp earth? Theorists claim a massive, undocumented wave of mud swept across the earth, instantly burying the lower levels of a fallen civilization. Then come the magnificent world fairs. Between 1851 and 1915, massive, temporary cities filled with impossibly grand palaces suddenly appeared across America and Europe, only to be completely demolished shortly after the exhibitions closed. Why spend millions of dollars building thousands of monumental stone structures just to tear them down months later? Believers claim these fairs were actually a clever cover story to legally destroy the last standing Tartarian strongholds. The narrative deepens with old photographs showing entirely empty cities. Mid-19th century photos of San Francisco, New York, and Moscow often reveal pristine, massive streets without a single human being or horse carriage in sight. Where did the original inhabitants go? Proponents suggest a massive population reset occurred, pointing to the bizarre popularity of incubator baby exhibits at world fairs and the strange rise of orphan trains across the American continent. According to the grand theory, a shadow group of elites inheritance hijacked the planet, found empty Tartarian cities, repopulated them with manufactured orphans, and fabricated our entire written timeline to maintain absolute global control. It sounds like an incredible, dark movie plot. But what happens when we apply rigorous forensic investigation to these architectural mysteries? The real answers are far more fascinating than any conspiracy could ever invent. Before we break down the definitive proof, join our forensic circle. Hit that subscribe button right now to uncover the hidden truths behind history's greatest architectural anomalies. Let's dive straight into the real historical records. Let's start with the maps. Why does Grand Tartaria appear across centuries of geography? To early European cartographers, Tartaria was not a unified nation, but a broad regional term, much like we use sub-Saharan Africa today. The real Tartars were a complex tapestry of nomadic, Turkic, and Mongol confederations. They dominated the vast steppes, moving with the seasons, living in highly practical mobile structures rather than permanent, monumental, classical stone palaces. Because Western explorers could not safely enter these vast northern territories, cartographers simply blocked out the entire unknown space under the blanket label of Tartaria. It was a marker of geographic ignorance, not a hidden superpower. What about the claim of identical global architecture? The 19th century experienced the height of the Beaux-Arts and neoclassical design movements. Imperial powers built grand government centers specifically to project authority and cultural dominance. The mystery of the buried windows also has a very practical engineering explanation. During the Victorian era, cities grew rapidly, requiring massive regrading projects where streets were intentionally elevated to install modern sewer systems. Architects built those lower windows intentionally as light wells. These deep spaces allowed precious daylight and fresh air to enter dark basement kitchens and servant quarters before the widespread availability of cheap, reliable electricity. But how could they build those massive World Fair palaces so incredibly fast? The stunning secret is that these structures were never made of solid stone. They were temporary illusions constructed from a very specific material. They used a material called staff, a cheap mixture of plaster of Paris and hemp fiber built over simple wooden frameworks. It looked exactly like monumental marble on camera, but was designed to decay within a few years. Because these temporary dream cities were built of wood and plaster, they were extreme fire hazards. Many world fairs weren't intentionally demolished by a dark conspiracy. They tragically burned down in spectacular, uncontrollable blazes. What about those eerie, entirely empty city photographs from the 19th century? The answer lies in the limitations of early photographic technology, specifically the extremely long exposure times required to capture an image. Early cameras took minutes to expose a single frame. Anything moving, like walking pedestrians or speeding horse carriages, simply vanished from the final image, leaving behind only the solid, unmoving stone buildings. The heartbreaking story of orphan trains and incubator babies wasn't a global population reset. It was a tragic, real-world response to massive immigration waves, extreme urban poverty, and high infant mortality rates in crowded industrial cities. And those majestic domes and spires claimed to harvest atmospheric free electricity? They were actually lightning rods, architectural vanity projects, or functional radio antennas built during the initial, exciting dawn of modern telecommunications. The oversized doors and massive steps that believers claim were built for ancient giants were simply designed for grand visual scale. Architects used monumental proportions to make humans feel small and small before state power. Look closely at how easily history can be misinterpreted when we lose the context of the past. The truth doesn't diminish the mystery. It actually reveals a much deeper, more grounded human story. The real tragedy of the Tartaria myth is that it replaces actual, fascinating history with fantasy. The real Turkic and Mongol peoples possessed an incredibly sophisticated culture that shaped the destiny of Europe and Asia for centuries. Why has this theory captured the minds of millions today? In an era of rapid architectural normalization, where every modern glass skyscraper looks identical, people yearn for a time when architecture felt sacred, majestic, and deeply purposeful. When we separate fiction from historical fact, we find that our ancestors didn't need free energy grids or giant ancestry to build magnificent wonders. They achieved architectural perfection through sheer human willpower and incredible engineering craftsmanship. Losing our connection to real history makes us vulnerable to beautifully packaged myths. By examining the physical evidence with forensic precision, we honor the actual human beings who carved our world out of the raw stone. History isn't always hidden by a shadow elite. Sometimes it is simply forgotten in plain sight. Keep questioning, keep looking closer at the stones of your city, and never let the true human story be buried by myth.